Howdy, my friends, and I'm Pastor Ben Hayes from First Baptist Church, Dadeville, Alabama, bringing you our thought for the day. Well, it's actually Thursday for me because I'm pre-recording this, but I want you to know we got a great weekend in store for us. Watch the weather, be weather aware. If you need anything and need any help, call us. But Sunday morning it's going to be great. 8:45 Bible study, 10 a.m. worship. I'm going to be preaching, and I think God's got a message for us all. So come and join us for that. No activities Sunday night. Everything is shut down Sunday night. Keep that in mind. All right, Galatians chapter 2, picking up in verse 6. Now remember, we're talking about these false teachers who crept in trying to add a burden, the burden of circumcision and Judaism to becoming a Christian. Paul has shut that down, but look what he says. But from those who seem to be something, whatever they were, it makes no difference to me. God shows personal favoritism to no man. For those who seem to be something added nothing to me. What's he talking about? There's some people who were pretty full of themselves, thought that they were all that in a bag of chips, as we say here in the South. They thought that they were really somebody important that had the right to tell Paul what to do, how to preach, how to do his ministry. And Paul says, now, they seem to be something, they seem to be somebody, they seem to be important, but let me remind you of something. God shows no partiality. God doesn't do that. When God sees us, he sees us all as his sons and daughters. There's no hierarchy, right? It's all about the ground being level at the foot of the cross. Paul says these guys came in and presumed to tell me how to do my ministry when I got my ministry from Jesus, not from them. Jesus told me what to do. Jesus told me what to say. And he says they seem to be something, but they added nothing to me. Now think about that. Now, I'm not telling you that you should not have a mentor, somebody who is discipling you. I believe every Christian should be a disciple and should be discipling somebody. You should be following somebody, that they're speaking into your life, but you are also leading somebody. Now, understandable if you're the person who is discipling you is trying to help you to overcome something, listen to them. But understand this, our first and foremost, our primary responsibility is not to men, it is to God. Now be sure that what you're doing is from God, because sometimes God sends leaders into our lives to help us to understand that we may be headed in the wrong direction. And he sends them to us to draw us back. So make sure it's God. Paul is sure. He spent 3 years in the wilderness with Jesus. Jesus taught him what he was supposed to be doing. And he says, look, God doesn't show favoritism. God doesn't. He loves everybody, and he leads everybody to do the ministry. Now, look what he says. Here's what he's talking about, verse 7. But on the contrary, when they saw that the gospel for the uncircumcised had been committed to me, as the gospel for the circumcised was to Peter, for he who worked effectively in Peter for apostleship to the circumcised also worked effectively in me toward the Gentiles. And when James, Cephas, and John, who seemed to be pillars, perceived the grace that had been given to me, they gave me and Barnabas the right hand of fellowship, that we should go to the Gentiles and to the circumcised. Now, there's a lot there, but here's what he's saying. He's saying these guys who thought they were something, that tried to stop me, when they saw what God was doing, that he had truly given me the calling to be the apostle to the Gentiles, just like Peter was given his ministry to the Jewish people. He says when they saw this, they understood. It's the same God working in Peter that's working in me. The same God that's working in James and John who's working in me. The God who called them is the God who called me. And so what happened? When at this meeting in Jerusalem, at the Council of Jerusalem in the book of Acts chapter 15, they embraced Paul and Barnabas, gave them the right hand of fellowship, gave them some attaboys, and said, you go. Go to the Gentiles and to the Jews. Keep preaching the gospel. Keep ministering as you're doing. Be the men that God created you to be, and serve the Father. Because here's what happens. Even sometimes men like Peter, James, and John get this idea in their head that they know better. And then God has to say, wait a minute, let me show you something. This is what I'm doing through Paul. This is his ministry. Leave him alone. The good news is God will do that. Just be patient. Just be faithful. Keep doing what you know God has told you to do. And he's the one that will bless you. And I want you to be blessed. And I hope to see you on Sunday.